Hello, welcome to Verbling. Hi there, I'm teacher Oakley, and today's class we're gonna return to sort of an intermittent kind of once in a while series that I do here on Verbling, talking about U.S. states and introducing United States states, of which there are 50, of course, represented by the stars on the flag. Okay, anyway, the point of the class is to introduce you to individual states. In the United States, individual states can create their own laws. There are federal laws, the law of the land, and then there are state laws. So each state tends to have many of its own rules. It has its own tax structure and functions as sort of an autonomous region. And so there's a wide variety of cultures, and each state is quite different. Today we're talking about Rhode Island. Hi, Nader.
Hi, how are you?
Okay.
Happy to see you again.
Yes, likewise. Back at you. Okay. All right. Nader, what do you know about Rhode Island? Do you know anything about Rhode Island?
I guess it's in the east of the United States.
Well, more northeast, actually.
Northeast? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was far. So I know it is bordering the ocean.
Yeah, okay. Very good.
They say it's the ocean state, I guess.
Very good. The ocean state is the motto of this state. In America, all the states have their own motto.
And it is a small one.
It's very small. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, maybe. It is. Is it overpopulated state?
Well, excellent. Yeah, it has the second highest density, people per square kilometer, of all the 50 states. The most densely populated is New Jersey, but followed closely by Rhode Island. Yes, that's true. And you're absolutely correct. It borders the ocean, but it is, in fact, it is not an island.
Maybe we say a semi-island if it borders the ocean. It's from three sides, or we say it is a semi-island.
Well, no, we don't.
Because in Arabic we say this. We have this expression: if
Really?
land has water from three sides, we say it is a semi-island.
Okay.
So I thought maybe it is a translation or something. So now I know it is an original term.
Yeah, okay. It is original, I guess. Yeah, we don't usually use that terminology to talk about it. But in any case,
you don't have any name for that piece of land that has the water?
Sure, we usually call it a peninsula.
Peninsula.
Like
our term is much simpler.
Well, yeah, it is. You're right, but yeah, peninsula. It's kind of has a, well, kind of island. Not really. I think it's Roman, maybe Greek. I'm not sure actually where this word comes from. But for example, Florida is a peninsula, or Korean peninsula. Yeah, like that.
Because we have Sinai in Egypt. It's a peninsula.
Yeah, right. Okay, good example. That's right. So, but the whack thing, the reason we're discussing that is because of Rhode Island. But in fact, Rhode Island is not surrounded on three sides. In fact, to the east is Massachusetts, and to the north is Massachusetts, and to the west is Connecticut. So it only has one. The southern border, it borders on Long Island Sound, which Long Island is that very big, very long island, aptly named. Uh, but it's across the Sound. A sound is a body of water, a body of ocean water. So anyway,
These two
so it's
states are very difficult to pronounce, both of them. This Massachusetts, and Connecticut.
yes, they are. You are correct. Massachusetts, yes, and
Massachusetts. I know
even
that Massachusetts institution is very, very famous.
what's that?
Massachusetts institution. This one is very famous for, I guess, for inventions.
You mean Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT?
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, a bunch of geniuses all inventing things.
Uh-huh.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, Massachusetts is even harder to spell than it is to say. I pretty much
The other one is
every time. Connecticut. It's a little easier. Connecticut.
Connecticut.
Yeah. Well, speaking of hard names and difficult names, when we're talking about Rhode Island, as a matter of fact, the actual name, actually Rhode Island, although it is the smallest state in the United States, area-wise, it actually has the longest state name. The real, actual, official state name is State of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations.
This is like the old name of Libya, I guess. Libya, they have very, very strong names. The official name is like 7 names or something.
Oh, really?
Before Gaddafi gives them that name.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't know what the point of that is. His 7-word name, but yeah. Yeah, so it's quite funny, you know. It's called Rhode Island, but it's only really bordered on the ocean on one side. It does have a lot of lakes and rivers, river deltas going in, rivers that go into the ocean, you know, where they kind of spread apart as they reach the ocean. That's called a delta. So there is
delta. We have also a delta in Egypt.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course, absolutely. Nile Delta, sure, and the Mississippi Delta. But anyhow, there's definitely a big delta. So there's a lot of water there. All right. Yeah, and it's
so what is the most beautiful state in terms of nature? No, for you.
That's a tough one.
For
really
you, that's why I'm telling you for you.
That's a really hard one. It's a very difficult question. Very difficult because the different parts of the country are so different. I love my home state, Vermont, which is also like Rhode Island. It's just part of New England. Those 6 states in the very northeast corner of the United States are referred to as New England. You have Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut constitute New England. I really think my home state, Vermont, is beautiful, but in a different way. In the fall, when the leaves turn colors, and Rhode Island included, is also all of New England, because of the propensity, the large number of maple trees, sugar maple trees, and oaks and elms, and the wide variety of deciduous trees, as opposed to coniferous trees. Coniferous are pine trees, okay, and deciduous are the trees with leaves, with real leaves. Since there's such a wide variety in all of New England, it's very beautiful for a month and a half during the fall, because the trees are gold, purple, red, orange, brown, green, multiple colors, and different types of trees tend to be different colors. So it's really eye-popping and beautiful to be there. And the weather's really nice, in the fall. Nice, cool weather. But okay, I love that. I also, then there's the desert areas like in Utah where the Grand Canyon is, Zion Park, Bryce Canyon. These are, again, eye-poppingly beautiful places. I also lived in California in I spent a month and a half in Wyoming. In the Rocky Mountains, the northern Rocky Mountains, also incredibly beautiful vistas, very tall mountains and snow-capped and extremely beautiful. Of course, you have national park there, Yellowstone, insanely beautiful. I lived in Lake Tahoe in California. I loved it there, hiking and skiing and fishing. Again, another really beautiful area, but quite different, much more rocky mountains, lots of, not as much forest as in New England. New England is heavily forested, lots of animals. So it depends. What I don't know. Depends what you like, but I can't say I have a favorite.
Yes,
Really.
that one with a variety of colors, these roses everywhere, and this is what I see as very beautiful city.
Yeah. Yeah, you should.
So I'll take the New England for now at
Yeah,
least.
take a little tour of New England in the fall. In end of September and beginning of October is the best part. But be aware that you are not the only person.
It is
New
very
England,
crowded.
it is very crowded. Indeed. Indeed. It's a strange phenomenon, Nader, because here's the deal. This is kind of an older person's destination. So you get a lot of retired people, often, often on bus tours. Okay, so they can just sit in the bus and take pictures and they tour around New England, and yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of tourists at that time of year. It's very, very busy in all of New England. Rhode Island has their second most productive area of the economy is tourism, which is understandable, and I'm sure they get a lot of it in the fall. Yeah, there really are no mountains or anything.
And why is the name New England?
New England. Because
because of what?
the settlers from England, this is the area where they first started to settle. Plymouth Rock in Massachusetts, and also, well, of course, you had Jamestown, which is in Virginia, not New England, which is really the first place. But a lot of the Jamestown didn't work out too well. It failed. Otherwise, maybe Virginia would be New England. Yeah. It didn't work. So the ones that actually worked in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut. All right, then this is where England first kind of got a real lasting, permanent foothold on the American continent. So
I see. And why is British Columbia?
That one I do not know. I don't know. It's weird. Actually, I've often thought it's weird because it's so far west. It wasn't part of the the original area. Well, Canada is very interesting. The northeast of Canada. All right, you've got New England, the northeast corner of United States, and then just above that you have Quebec, which is very French-speaking. But you have to remember the history. England had control of the colonies to the south, and France had control of the provinces, in the north, Quebec and Ottawa, Montreal, all of that. So it's very French-speaking, and then British took over as later, much later, as Canada was expanding north and west. So I suspect that has something to do with it, but it is kind of weird. I think it's strange too. I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, okay.
Back to Rhode Island.
Yeah, the second most productive part of the economy is tourism. The main driver of the Rhode Island economy is very weird. It's very strange. As I was researching the class, I'm like, how does that happen? Can you guess? I mean, I don't know how you could ever guess. Any idea of what?
Sure, I cannot. Maybe gold?
Gold, no. No, they don't have. Well, they do have one resource, and that's the ocean. So fishing is also on the list for contributors to the economy, but not as much as you might think.
Cannot be oil.
It is definitely not oil. They have no oil there at all. It's weird. I've never heard of any country, state, or any place having this be their most, their biggest industry in the state. It is actually healthcare.
Healthcare.
Weird. Hospitals. They have really big, important hospitals. It's weird. It's just weird. I don't really understand it myself.
So they have any kind of medical tourism?
I guess they must. See, that's what I'm guessing here, but that seems highly likely that they must, because as I look at the 20 the 20 employers, top employers, it's weird how many of them: Lifespan Hospital Group, Care New England, okay, this is another hospital group, CVC Caremark, another hospital group, weird. So the thing is, they're like surrounded on two sides by Massachusetts and then Connecticut. Rhode Island is like right in between Boston, a major metropolitan area, and New York City, obviously another big city. So there's a whole line of cities, Connecticut, got New Haven, and all right, it's just a line of cities from Boston to New York City, which Rhode Island's kind of right in the middle of it. So I guess they must have some sort of health tourism, which I was totally unaware of, frankly. But very strange. The thing that I remember, I would never have guessed that. I have visited Rhode Island, just visited quickly. I think I've been to a couple concerts there in Providence. I've passed through, going from New York to Boston a couple times. What I noticed is there are a lot of factories, manufacturing, which is their third largest industry, I guess. They manufacture metal products, electrical equipment, a lot of machinery. Of course, since they're on the ocean, and then there's deltas, they have shipbuilding, boat building is big business there. Okay. They do have some agriculture as well. Dairy products, eggs, some vegetables, I guess. Uh, the one bad thing, speaking of the economy, is they have high taxes. Pretty high. Their taxes are 25% of the federal income tax. So
Oh, what were the taxes in your state?
in Vermont, not that high. We also had our taxes were pegged to um, were pegged to the federal tax. So a certain percentage of the federal tax. But I think it is considerably less. It's something like 12%. I think they may have raised it to 15% of whatever the
So,
federal tax is.
what is the minimum taxes percentage in USA?
There are some states that have no state tax at all. New Hampshire has no state tax. New Hampshire has no sales tax. See, it's tricky because you have sales tax, which you pay for all. The normal sales tax is like a value-added tax, which I've always found to be the stupidest thing in the world. What value does it add to put a tax on it?
When you pay.
Huge misnomer. What a ridiculous English word. I hate the person who invented that one. But in any case,
An evil one.
yeah, definitely. In any case, yeah, a tax that you pay for most of the United States. It's not for food. If it's edible, then there's no tax on edible things. But anything else that you buy, there's a tax. So, okay, they do it differently, and there are some states that have no sales tax, but then they have an income tax, and then there's some states with no income tax, but maybe they have property tax. Some states have all three.
So, can you live in any states that has no taxes at all?
I seriously doubt it. First of all, everyone's got to pay federal tax. That's everyone. And
how much is it?
Federal tax?
Yes.
It's a rolling scale, so it depends how much you make. So if you only made like $12,000 a year, you don't have to pay any tax. You pay nothing. But it changes. There's different income brackets, they're called. So if you're in a certain bracket.
We say like a ladder here.
Yeah, okay. You can say that too for United States system. So yeah, it depends. The amount of the tax depends on your income bracket. But I don't know. When I was living in the U.S., I was very average. I mean, really average. Totally right on the average.
So the average is 50,000 per year?
Probably now. Yeah, it must be by now. Well, yeah, yeah. So in any case, that sounds about right. I'm not absolutely sure, but 8 years ago, when I lived in the United States, it was 42,000, and that's what I was making. Virtually right, exactly on the average. How much money were they taking? They were taking approximately maybe 25%. But the thing is, they're taking federal tax. They are automatically, in your paycheck, they take out the federal tax, they take out the state tax, and they take out Social Security withholding. And then if you have an insurance program through work, they take out the insurance program as well, which that's a whole nother discussion, because there you have an extremely wide variety of options as far as insurance.
Because here in Saudi Arabia, they don't get any taxes.
Yeah.
No income tax, no sales
heard that.
tax, nothing at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard that. Yeah, it must be nice.
In Philippines, do they get any taxes?
They do, but they're lower than United States. But of course, I have to pay tax in both countries, which stinks.
Which is a nightmare.
This is a nightmare. But on the other hand, I'm because of the standard of living and just the price of things. I basically don't pay tax in the United States. I mean, I pay tax, file tax, but I don't pay anything because I'm earning less than the required amount, or I have been. It looks like this year I'm going to have to pay, but bummer. But anyway, well, that's too bad, but what can you do? Yeah, okay, back to Rhode Island. All right, Rhode Island actually has a lot of firsts. Historically, have you ever heard of the original 13 colonies in the United States? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, those. I guess it announced. What did you say before the independence? It was dependence. It announced or
Declared.
the collocation declared. It was one of the first to declare independence, I guess.
That's right. The 13 original colonies that declared independence. That's correct. Rhode Island was the first of the 13, actually, interestingly. And and by quite a bit. 2 months before any other state actually did, in fact, declare independence, Rhode Island was already there 2 months earlier. Had to jump the gun, but anyway, interesting. Although it was the first to declare independence, it was the last of the 13 to ratify the United States Constitution. In other words, to make the U.S. Constitution legal. We say ratify. Yeah. So
it has its own personality.
What's that?
It has its own ideas.
Yeah, that's very true. And speaking of, okay.
It doesn't follow suit, I guess. I mean.
That's true. That's very true. It is true. I don't know. They march to the beat of a different drummer. So it is quite true. Now, it's an interesting place, Rhode Island, because it does have a lot of. It had the first Baptist church. It has a lot of first things historically. If you're into that, First Baptist Church, first Jewish temple, first this, first that, first state capital. There's a lot of firsts involved with this state. One of the things that definitely is sort of identified with Rhode Island, a couple things actually. Well, the biggest cities are Providence and Newport, and of course these are both homes to famous yachting or sailing contests, races, I guess. Yachting race, I suppose. So Rhode Island definitely has a strong kind of identity with yachting and boating. There's obviously there's a lot of coastal areas and a lot of rich people who can afford to have a yacht. Okay.
Why is it a yacht very expensive?
That's a great question. I don't know.
Because when I see it a very simple thing. But if you have a yacht, it's like you have a mansion.
Right? I don't know. It's very odd. It's a very strange thing. I think just because they can pay. So it's like a status symbol. So really, seriously, I think people just pay because it's a status symbol. If you can afford a yacht, you must be a millionaire at least. You know, you have to be. Um, Another big part of Rhode Island's identity is the Newport Jazz Festival. This is a huge festival that happens every year in Newport. Pretty much world famous. All the top, you know, jazz musicians show up for this festival. It's really, really huge. It's really big. Lasts for a few days. It's quite well known. One other thing that that is sort of identified with Rhode Island. There's a famous television cartoon that takes place in supposedly on Rhode Island, in Rhode Island, I should say, not on because it's not really an island, which is Family Guy. Have you ever heard of that?
Do you like
show?
Family Guy? I
Do I
know,
like
but I never see it. But I know it's very, very famous. But I don't like that cartoons like Family Guy and that Simpsons
Yeah.
family. I never tried it. I never saw even one episode of
Really?
any of them. But I don't like that cartoons that discuss family matters and this.
Yeah.
You know, if it's a cartoon for me, it's a cartoon.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they are definitely meant to be comedies, and frankly, Family Guy is it's kind of borderline sometimes with being funny and just being rude and sick. Sometimes it's funny. Sometimes he goes over the edge there, that guy who does that. But in any case, the setting for this cartoon comedy show is in Rhode Island. Yeah.
So the creators are from Rhode Island? Sure.
I don't think so, but I'm not sure. I can't remember the guy's name. He's pretty famous in the United States. He's done other movies, and I can't remember the
But
guy's
you
name.
should choose a place you can talk about.
Yeah. Well, he has another show. You see, he has still a totally different show called American Dad.
American Dad, I heard about it.
Yeah. In that case, the setting is Langley, Virginia, because that's where the CIA offices are. And this American Dad supposedly works for the CIA. So that one's set in Virginia.
But for this one, he has no choice. He has to choose Virginia.
Yes, right. Exactly. Because that's where it is. That's where the head of the CIA, the head office is.
By the way, do you have any show that happens in Vermont so we can watch it?
Haha. Not anymore. There used to be a show called The Bob Newhart Show. What a great show. Now, that was a funny show, a comedy show. This guy retires, well, semi-retires to New England and opens a sort of bed and breakfast place. A small, like a big house where you have guests stay in your house. They get their own room, but everybody eats together, family style, like that. Now that was a funny show. Yeah.
Is Vermont isn't in the north or the south of the USA?
Oh yeah, it's in the north. It's part of the New England. You have Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont.
You already mentioned. So.
Right. It borders Canada. Borders Quebec.
Oh,
Actually,
it's in the very north.
Yeah, the closest metropolitan area to me when I was growing up was Montreal. Montreal was a lot closer than New York or Boston.
Have you been to Montreal?
Many times. Many times. Yeah.
Do you need a visa to enter Canada?
No. You don't even need a passport, just a driver's license. Really? You just need an American driver's license. That's it. No problem.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, went many times to Montreal. Always fun. Always had a great time there. Great city, really. Really nice city. Really clean city. Um, quite very really a nice city. Ken, hello. Welcome.
Yes, hello.
Hi, hi
How are
Ken.
you?
I'm doing okay.
Mm,
How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, Ken, we're talking about Rhode Island
Mhm.
today.
Yeah,
Uh, You ever heard of Rhode Island?
yes, close to New York, the kind of island close to New York
Oh, yeah.
or Connecticut.
Yes. Well, it borders on Connecticut and basically Long Island.
Mhm.
Uh, Long Island is a very interesting place, and actually, that's where I went to university, so I know it pretty well. It's long. It's 90 miles long. It's an island, but it's thin and it stretches for 90 miles,
Mhm.
and it goes from east to west, and it basically is south of Connecticut and Rhode Island, and almost to maybe even Massachusetts. So, yeah, there's a body of water between Long Island and the rest of New England, and New England, and that's called Long Island Sound. Right.
Mhm. How does the island connect it to the mainland and America? Bridge or tunnels or?
Long Island
Mhm.
bridges, the Brooklyn Bridge,
Uh-huh.
Brooklyn Bridge. Uh, yeah, I can't remember the other bridges, but anyway, bridges.
Okay.
Yes. So Manhattan itself is an island, but also Queens, Yonkers are also part of an island. Actually, they're the first part of Long Island.
Mm.
Brooklyn, Brooklyn, Queens, and Yonkers are all part of the island. The Bronx is part of the mainland, or really United States. Manhattan's a separate island,
Yeah.
and then of course you have Coney Island,
Ah,
also
yeah.
part of New York
Coney
City.
Island is famous.
Yeah. So there's kind of a bunch of islands there, actually, in
Mm.
reality. However, we're talking about but none of them are called islands. We say Manhattan. Well, Long Island is called an island, but we're talking about Rhode Island, and Rhode Island, of course, is not even an island at all. Totally misnamed, which is very bizarre, but kind of strange, but true enough. Also, Rhode Island, I was talking about some things that Rhode Island is kind of known for. Newport Jazz Festival is very big. Um, Yacht races is very big. Um, Another thing, okay, is Narragansett Beer. They have their own beer there, which was a very famous beer. It's kind of funny because it's really a horrible beer, and everybody knows it's horrible. But everybody knows it. It's very cheap beer. Uh, it's called Narragansett, which is the name of a city, but everybody refers to this beer as nasty Gasset, or just nasty. We're gonna get a 6-pack of nasties. Um, yeah, I was introduced to this of course, in university when students don't have any money. It's like the cheapest. It's horrible, really. But automatically associated with Rhode Island, as a matter of fact. Another famous event that took place in Rhode Island, which actually makes it more infamous than famous. A few years ago, well, maybe 10 years ago now, there was a fire in a nightclub there. And because they had blocked off they weren't following the rules, the requirements for fire safety. The nightclub was overcrowded. One of the emergency exits was blocked off. In any case, the long and short of it is like 100 people were killed in this nightclub fire. So very, it was a big tragedy about a decade ago, and quite shocking, actually. And that was right in the capital of Rhode Island. Everyone was pretty shocked by that one.
So,
This
what is the difference between famous and infamous?
Well, famous is usually good, and infamous is usually bad.
Is
all
it
right.
infamous?
Infamous. Yeah, I'll write it here. Infamous.
It's the same like famous, but with in.
Yeah, with the yes, exactly, with the prefix in.
Prefix in.
Yeah, infamous. So, all right, the good guys are famous, and so are the bad guys, the villains. So the villains are infamous.
Infamous.
Yes, indeed. Okay. Lot of history. If you ever go to Rhode Island, the other thing I remember is there's a lot of factories here. That's what I remember from going to the city. But I also remember going through Rhode Island that there are just an inordinate number of historical markers. Nader, do you have historical markers in your country? Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
Historical markers, you mean like famous buildings or something?
Well, okay, what exactly do I mean? How can I explain this? Historical markers, you're driving down the road, and usually it's
like a famous tree.
Yeah, it could be anything. In this field, there was a famous battle. This is where somebody famous camped out, or this is where some other famous guy died, whatever.
Mm.
And it's like a marker. Sometimes they make them out of metal, like brass or something. Sometimes they're a metal plaque, which is attached to a stone, a big monolith or something.
Like here lived someone.
Yeah, exactly. Right, and they're often made on a metal plaque, and so giving them permanence. And anyway, basically, and there's usually a little place you can turn off the road and read this metal plaque, and I don't know, have a picnic, whatever. Anyway, yeah. Do they have such things?
No, but we have like shrines for famous people.
Oh, okay. All right.
Many people who admire them go there for, to commemorate them or something.
All right. Here's another.
And sometimes when people die, they make like their houses are like museums. Here lived so and so.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, they do that in the United States too. Here's another weird question. Actually, just reminded me because of the historical markers. Do you have what would you call them? In the United States, if you're all over the place, to designate certain geological best, biggest, highest mountain in the state, lowest point, highest, lowest, furthest west, south, whatever. Wherever you go, you see these, or actually the top of every mountain that you hike in the United States. They have a little round circle, brass plate. It's hammered into the rock on the highest point. It's from the United States Geological Survey Group, and then it gives the elevation of the mountain, for example, and maybe says if there's any extra, if it's the highest mountain in the state or something like that, it will note that.
No,
Plus
we
the
don't have
name
this.
of the mountain, of course. No, you don't have things like that?
No, no, not at all.
It's kind of interesting. Yeah, okay. The best one is on the Four Corners in the United States, where 4 states meet, each one making a perfect cross, a perfect perpendicular line. So there's one point that the circle, the geological survey, is exactly where those lines meet. So if you stand there, you're in 4 states at once. You're in Colorado, you're in Utah, you're in Arizona, and you're in New Mexico at the same time. I love that. Was kind of cool. Anyway, okay, interesting. Ken, do you have historical markers to mark certain
Yeah,
areas of interest?
yeah,
Historical.
maybe a lot.
Really?
It
Yeah.
kind of, yeah. Japan has a long history, so a lot of things happened. So a lot of road marks, yeah. Or if you said, this is the highest point or north edge or south edge of Japan or something like that. That's pole kind of thing, yeah.
Okay, so there would be some kind of marker or something for these
Yeah.
geological features
Yes, that's right.
as well?
Mhm.
Interesting. Okay. Yes, Japan is old. What is the oldest building in Japan, by the way?
Actually, the
Or
traditional building here was made of the paper, wood, so
Right.
it doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
But famous shrine probably they rebuilt every 50 years, so it still exists. It's a headquarter of Shinto Shrine or something. So
Okay.
yeah, but it is not original. Maybe the building again and again.
Right. Over
Every
and
50.
over.
Yeah.
Every 50 years. Okay. What's the oldest? For example, well, United States is a different case, but I was mentioning to Nader earlier that Jamestown in Virginia was basically the first European settlement or attempt at European settlement. If you don't want to talk about, of course, you could also mention that they were in Greenland. There were settlements in Greenland from northern Viking people. But, okay, like the oldest place. In Greece, when I visited Greece, I went to Mycenae. Really, really old city. Super old, like 3,000 before Christ or something. Like 5,000-year-old city. Is there anything like that in Japan, like a excavation or historical site that's very, very old?
Maybe this area is a border. It's very close to Asian continent, so a lot of Asian tombs are around this area. And like how can I say, Anglo-Saxon invaded England 2,000 years ago, and new kind of people come here. Maybe that's Asian. Maybe, and they had iron and agriculture, so they are more powerful than native people here. So they gradually they became very powerful, and they established the first kingdom in Japan. It is kind of united kingdom in Japan. So yeah, so modern Japanese is a mix of these two types of Japanese actually.
All right. Is there any specific site that is said to be 3,000 years old or 5,000 years old?
Yeah, I saw a lot of Asian tombs around here, and my city's baseball stadium became old, so the city decided build a new one. That the kind of, and when the construction of get rid of that baseball field, Asian ruins was found under the sheet of the baseball
Really?
field. Yeah. So after that, uh, researcher researched it. It was a kind of guest house for foreign people.
Oh,
Probably
wow.
at that time, Chinese, Koreans, or because since it is very close to the continent side, this city is
Uh-huh.
developed as such kind of international port at that time. So guest
Uh-huh.
and a lot of treasure kind of thing was found at
Wow.
that ancient ruin. Yeah.
Wow. And they didn't notice it the first time they built the
Yeah.
stadium.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Very modern, under the very modern kind of thing, yeah. Kind of very ancient. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's
Because
amazing.
may- that stand is beside the ruin of castle. So maybe that area is traditionally that kind of important area, probably. That's why that guest house existed.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. Okay. Tying it back to Rhode Island. Rhode Island, I mentioned before, has a lot of first this and first that. There's a lot of historical places, a lot of historical markers, even in the city. You see plaques everywhere. I don't know. Um, Actually, this is kind of interesting.
Yes.
Nadar. Uh, how about in your country? What is the oldest thing, oldest place, oldest historical site, or
As you are aware, we have so many old buildings. We have so many monuments. We
yeah,
have the pyramids like 4,000 years ago.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah? You got a
we
lot
have
there.
we have temples. We have old cities. We have,
Bookstore.
I told you before. We have like one city, Luxor, has like they say from 1/3 to 2/3 of world monuments. So we have so many ancient monuments, which are like 5 years ago, or 5,000 years ago, or 4,000 years ago, because they say like this Egyptian civilization, it was like 7,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and
Question.
they lived, so they were, crazy about building this tombs, and that the pyramid is a tomb.
Yeah. Right.
Uh,
Yes.
so they have, and this I don't know how it lasts up to today. In south of Egypt, so many people are digging their houses, and they find ancient monuments under their houses, because like
Right.
they have a city under the city.
Right. Yeah. I've definitely heard stories. Question: how difficult is it to get to Luxor? If I
For me, it's like maybe 6 or 7 hours by car. So it's
Okay.
like 2 hours by plane. Not difficult at all. But I didn't visit it because I'm not very interested in ancient monuments. I have like one museum in Cairo that has like 4,000 pieces or 5,000 pieces of ancient monuments. So I don't feel so eager to go to Luxor.
Right. I'd like to go there. I guess I just have a sort of a romantic idea of it. I don't know, because I've read a few books about like like fantasy, science fiction, time travel kind of
Sure,
books.
sure. But you know the pyramids are in Giza, which is
Yeah.
very near to Cairo.
Right. Yes.
So it's like minutes from Cairo, 20 minutes maybe,
Uh-huh.
30 minutes. So you can see, if you when you come to Cairo, you can visit the museum. The National Museum is very full of these temples. Sorry, full of this. What do you call this? Sculptures.
Sculptures. Mm-hmm.
uh,
Right.
and ancient monuments, but you have to go to Aswan to see the river Nile is coming across all the south, from the south border to the north of Egypt, but
Right.
you have to visit this Luxor and Aswan. These are very, very interesting for tourist people.
Yeah.
tourists.
Yeah, I would love to go there. I really would.
I would
In
love to
fact,
see you there if you come any day.
sure, right?
If you tell me when are you coming, I can go to Egypt, especially to meet you there. No problem.
Uh, well, thanks. That's a very more than generous offer. Thank you. I don't know. Probably the kids are going to have to grow up a little bit more. So
Sure,
probably
but
nothing
in Egypt,
immediate.
you can come. These beaches are very beautiful. If you like scuba diving, they have amazing places there. If you are coming for ancient places, you will have so many places.
Yeah,
If
all
you,
right.
yeah, they have so many things for tourists, so you will
Yeah,
not get bored for sure.
for sure. Yeah, when I was living in New York City, actually, they had the guest. I don't know what you call that. A guest display. They had Tutankhamun, of course. Went to the
Yes, this is in the National Museum. This is in Egypt. That's
yeah,
where I saw it.
right. Well, they had it visit as a special, a guest.
They send it
Sometimes
to USA every year, I guess.
do they really? I didn't know that. But anyway, I saw it um, in the Museum of Natural History, I guess, in New York City. It was
Yeah.
cool. It was
Yes, I
quite
guess
impressive.
they send it maybe once a year or twice, or once every 2 years, something like this. Because every time they send it there, they have it is a very controversial thing in Egypt. They say they must come to see it. It's not safe to send it. What if they
Yeah,
broke it?
right. They broke it.
Yes, because they say it is insured by millions, but then they say what if it is stolen or if it is broken, who will pay for this? It is
Yeah, you
priceless.
can't pay for it. It's not possible.
Yeah, me too. I went to the Tutankhamun's
Did
exhibition.
you?
So yeah, they are travel around the world. Seems like that.
Yeah,
And
it's
Hmm.
a traveling
it
show.
was very impressive.
They are making a lot of money.
It was. It was very impressive. You got that right. It's extremely
Yeah,
impressive.
yeah. They
Uh,
have one suite for this Tutankhamun, one suite in the National Museum for
yeah,
his properties.
I'm sure they do. I was astounded at how much there was to see. Actually, you know, it was very impressive. Nothing that impressive as that in Rhode Island, I'm afraid. But the leaves are pretty. The leaves are pretty. The beer is bad. And
Hmm.
you can go. You can take your yacht. The fall is the best time, or the Newport Jazz Festival, which happens in the summer, is also
And,
very awesome.
and since it is close to New York, it could be one suburban area of New York. People
Kind
commute.
of,
Hmm.
kind of. Actually, Connecticut is the entire state of Connecticut is basically like a suburb of
Oh.
New York City, and also, as I was mentioning earlier, it's in that there's a highway that goes from Boston to New York City, and there's a lot of smaller cities. In Rhode Island, you have Providence and Newport, and then in Connecticut, of course, you have New Haven and Greenwich. They're like a chain of pearls or something. They're just one city after another on the way.
Mhm.
But yeah, you have people that live in Rhode Island that work in New York City or that work in Boston, actually, because it's
Ah.
right in the middle,
Mm.
basically.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm glad you guys joined me, so I had somebody to talk to for this hour. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you very
So,
much.
did you already talked about